Hey guys, welcome to Wealth Wisdom Financial YouTube channel podcast. So, as you noticed, we've been doing lots of interviews, and you know that we love to think with the end in mind. Being Profit First certified, being Infinite Banking certified, we want to think about um, what happens in the end. Like, how do we reverse architect things? And so, what better way to think about that is as the end of life, end of how I end things and how we make sure that everything we had built, kind of like the Rockefellers, will go into the right direction. So today I get to interview an attorney. Yeah, we're not going to go all attorney language, but maybe a little bit. But basically, this guy Paul Deloughery, he had some amazing things happen, and he's been doing this stuff for a while. Right. He has over 25 years of legal expertise. He has a law firm, all the things, how to simplify probate. And again, I know probate and had to deal with some of it personally because of family things that they did not take care of this stuff. And so we want to help you understand this. So he doesn't just speak about it from his legal experience, but he also inherited a lot of money. I'll let him tell the story that made him think about this even more. So I'm not going to keep going on about how amazing Paul is. I mean, he went to school for being a lawyer, so he has to be smart, right? But I wanted to have him on so he can explain to you why you might need to talk to somebody like him. Hey, Paul, thanks for being here.
So good to see you.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit. You are one of those attorneys that people like when they see you on the street, they will look the other way.
I'm one of those attorneys. Oh, yeah. This is starting off good.
So tell us, you're an attorney.
Yes.
You've been in this world. You've probably seen all kinds of crazy stuff. You went to school to learn all this, and what happens? Like what happens now? You have the knowledge. Tell us a little bit about how you end up where you're at today.
Thanks, and thanks for having me on, Brandon. So, yeah, I went to school and started practicing law about 25 years ago, helping people. And then I moved to Arizona back around 2002, and I was a partner in a law firm, and we did high-end estate planning and asset protection for primarily for dentists and doctors and business owners, affluent people. And I had a sense that I just needed to get some more like in-depth knowledge. Like it seemed very academic. We were meeting with clients and I was saying, oh, you need this and you need that and everything. And it seemed like it was coming from just me having learned it as opposed to having lived it. And so I went off on my own and started a law firm, and I did a lot of probate and trust litigation.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, well, so the interesting thing is there are a lot of myths in this area, and one of the myths, I mean, honestly, it's a marketing slogan that you need a trust to avoid probate, and a trust can avoid probate, just like a car with an airbag can help you avoid injury, but it doesn't guarantee it. And it really depends on the situation. Anyway, so I got into a lot of different messes, but I was still pretty cocky and confident that I knew everything. And I even wrote an article. I remember this. This all happened within about a year. So I wrote an article in a local newspaper about what to do if you come into sudden money or like a financial windfall. And and then and I'll give the story very fast. There, you can. I have a book on Amazon. You can read it if you want to learn more. But basically, I met my biological father for the first time at the age of 42.
Hmm.
6 weeks later, he was in the hospice. I went to his home because as far as I knew, I was his only biological child, and so
Hmm.
I went into the home just because he was not going to get better,
Yep.
and with the idea of like just seeing what there was, trying to do I need to protect something, and when I walked in, there was uh, a desk there with a computer and a printer, and on top of the printer was his. Let me get this straight. It was his 2008, 2008 federal tax return, and on the bottom of page two, it showed a $1.8 million passive income. So I kind of figured that okay, he must have some money
Hmm.
then,
Yep.
um, and and then he died a couple days after that. Um, so for me, and then I ended up inheriting over $28 million of stock, and I was unprepared. I didn't know who to trust. I mean, now that sounds funny
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I just wrote an article about what to do if you come into a windfall. But um, there's there's something called sudden wealth syndrome,
Hmm.
and it's a little bit like oh, saying that you have inflammation. Okay,
Yeah.
so the word inflammation is not really descriptive. Like,
Yeah.
is it do you have an allergy? Do you have an injury that you're not letting heal? Like, what's going on? Um, or do you have some kind of a sickness or something? And sudden wealth syndrome is a little bit like that. It basically describes kind of like overall what happens to some people um, who just are not psychologically
Mm.
or mentally prepared to come into a financial windfall. And it's a little bit complicated. Like for me, okay. I'm sorry, I forgot the punchline. I got this money, and then within about 5 years, most of it's gone. Like, well, half of it went to the taxes, estate
Yep.
taxes,
Yeah.
and then oh, I mean, I was immediately an accredited investor, and so that's very exciting. Looking at different private equity deals and whatnot, and uh, but I was not trained at learning which ones are good, and
Mm.
uh, uh, just uh, spoiler alert: most private equity deals are not good.
Yeah.
So
Wait,
anyways,
can you say that again?
most
What'd you
pri-
say?
yeah,
Private.
private equity deals are not good. Like most, there's a reason that there's a reason that a lot of businesses
Hmm.
look for investors. Is because they can't figure out how to grow organically.
Yep.
Um, now there are the odd deals where they have a great idea and they need an infusion of cash. Of course, they all say this. They need an infusion of cash in order to grow, but just I mean, from my experience, and I'm not an expert at it. Well, I, I guess I'm somewhat of an expert at it because I lived it. Um, but yeah, I mean, most private equity deals, uh, they're looking for cash because their expenses are too high, or the president is taking too large of a salary and has too big of a mortgage payment, or something like
Hmm.
that.
Yep.
So anyway, um, yeah. So what I found for me personally was I was just not prepared, and it's interesting because uh, so an inheritance is related to someone dying. So
Hmm.
you have a loss, which is generally a negative thing, associated with getting some money, which is generally a positive thing. Uh, but then there's all kinds of different associations that people have, and it depends on their own personal past and
Hmm.
past traumas and how well, and then how comfortable they are having that amount of money. So for me personally, uh, having the money was kind of like a, um, I, I'll just say it. It felt like a sick consolation prize. Like I really wanted to have a father figure. I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
want a bunch of money, but here's a bunch of money, and so I just was not careful with it. Like I got this. I got the, um, oh, what do you, the second rate prize, which most
yeah,
people would think, okay, millions of dollars, like what are you talking about? You're crazy. and
yeah,
and people, it and then the other thing that fell in line with this was because I suddenly had a whole bunch of money. I had to be careful who I was talking to, and most people could just literally could not, relate to me. Like I was talking about my feelings. I was talking about, the anger of, um, of being lied to my whole life about who my actual father was, and grief, and, um, happiness and joy at finally meeting him, and then having some money, and all these feelings were all intertwined,
yeah,
and I would try to tell the average person, and all they heard was I got a bunch of money.
yeah,
So anyway, so but then the complicated thing is that some people inherit money or come into a financial windfall and they're just fine. So,
yeah,
but and I think it's like going back to the inflammation idea. And again, I'm not a doctor, but, I think it's like, some people can eat whatever they want, and
yeah,
nothing happens. But some people, eh, um, eat the typical American diet, and they end up getting, like intestinal inflammation of the
yeah,
intestines
yeah.
and all kinds of things.
So you mentioned well, one thing I think a lot is if you don't have a plan for your money, someone else has a plan for it. So especially if you have a lot of money coming in, all of a sudden you're a mark, right? You now have all your best friends that are now needing you or wanting this or this deal or that deal. And a lot of times, and I see this all the time in the financial world, is people are looking for a way to make more money, and so they'll find this investing thing. They, as you said, the deals, that there's so many deals out there, but most of them are crap, right? Because if you don't have a plan for your money, someone has a plan for it. They're going to use it, and it's an extraction thing,
For
right?
sure, for sure.
um, and also with the tax code and with estate planning and all of that, it's a way to extract as much out. And if you're confused, you lose. That's what Donald Miller says,
Mm.
right? And so especially like people inherit this money, they're dealing with mourning, and then they have 60, 90 days to make decisions. Did you find that where you had to like make fast decisions and you're like, oh, well, I got to do this now, otherwise it's going to change in 90 days. I don't know. You've dealt with this before, so.
Um, well, I had that feeling.
Mhm.
It's not real. Like the money wasn't going to go anywhere. Like literally, I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to do anything for years. I mean, okay, I had to pay the estate taxes, but
Mhm.
other than that, I could have just chilled out. But
Yeah.
in my okay, so and this is something that probably most people cannot relate to, but I'll try to bring it around, to make it relate to, more people. But, so in my mind, I just paid 50% in estate taxes. So then, like, I have that number. So now I'm trying to figure out, okay, how can I make up that 50% as fast as possible? And that got me into the realm of risky
Gotcha.
investments and whatnot. That's what was going on in my mind. Um, and so I mean, honestly, if I would have just kept it,
Yeah.
if I would have just done nothing, I mean, the stocks were doing just fine, or I could have converted it to just mutual funds. I would have, made off just beautifully. But anyway,
Yeah. Well, and then so then you were comparing the what is that called, sunk cost fallacy or
Yeah,
something like
yep,
that,
yep, yep.
where you were like, oh, but it was this, but the reality is you started with zero,
Right.
no money, um, except for what you did, and then 50 per, even if it was 100 or $100, that doesn't matter. $100 is more than zero, right? But then you're like, well, they took 50% of it, so that's still $50 is more than zero. But yet we look and say, well, yeah, but it could have been 100.
Right. Right.
And so whether it's millions or a couple 100,000 or 1,000, still the same thing, right?
So here's the real lesson that I kind of took out of it, and I think applies to um, everyone. It's that if like what was missing in my situation was context,
Mm.
some like a values, or um, meaning like what the money meant to my father
Mm-hmm.
and what he would have wanted me to do. And unfortunately, just the circumstances, he was never able to tell me this. It's kind of a long story, but
Mm-hmm.
um, just the way things worked out. And and so without that, I was just kind of, I mean, yay, I have a whole bunch of money right now, but like without
Mm-hmm.
without a plan. I again,
Yeah.
like you said, like if you don't have a plan, you lose.
Yeah.
Um, and and it wasn't just having a will or a trust, because the will or trust would have said I got the stocks, or I got the
Mm-hmm.
investments. Okay, so that's not the plan I'm talking about. The plan I'm talking about is broader and richer than that. It's the idea of um, like for it to have a meaning for me,
Yeah.
and and then then I can visualize, because it's so important to be able to visualize what the future is.
Yeah.
And for me personally, I was having trouble with that, and so these shady investment people, pushers,
Mm-hmm.
gave me their vision. Like, oh, okay, well, that sounds great. I'll invest in oil wells in Texas right around
Yeah.
the time that they're discovering oil in North Dakota, and the price of oil is going down. That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah. So then, as you, well, let me ask: are you married, spouse, or anything like that?
Not married,
Okay.
but
So
I have two children.
okay. So it wasn't like anything that you're gonna ask your wife, whoever. What are we gonna do? Right? It's between you and whatever.
Right.
So if you were to go back and let's say you, well, and I deal with this all the time, right? What would you say before you got the money or before you stepped into this, and you've done the lawyer thing, you've made decent money, but what is something you would have said, I wish somebody would have done this for me, not about the money, but about other parts in our heart and mind that would have helped you be prepared?
There's a simple answer and then a more complex, more accurate answer. The simple answer is just don't do anything. And yeah, no one really clearly told me that, or no.
Hmm.
Anyway, um, the more complex thing. I mean, it actually gets really complex,
Hmm.
because and so this is, well, we're now 15 years after the fact, and I'm still kind of processing what
Hmm.
actually went on. And honestly, what went on, it has to do with unprocessed childhood trauma.
Hmm.
Um, and just in my own life, it had to do with my um, well, my mom and relatives. Um, Keeping from me uh, who my real father was, and then and I went balls to the wall, in terms of my stepfather's Irish heritage, and I learned bagpipes. I actually even competed in the world championship in bagpipes
Hmm.
in Ireland, and he was very proud and all this stuff. And then he died, and then and then come to find out, well, I'm actually not even Irish, and so like that was kind of a kick to the stomach, like
Yeah.
and so I felt like I was, and I still a little bit feel like I'm floundering around, and it's interesting because the um, this part of it just it takes a long time for people to heal from, and
Hmm.
I honestly think most people never heal from from that kind of thing, or childhood wounds or whatever, and we end up just kind of doing the best we can with, I don't know, drinking or smoking pot or something like that. And I have, well, I've never done the pot thing, but what I'm saying is that that's a common thing. It's very,
Yeah.
very, very common now, and especially with the families not being as close as
Yeah. Yeah.
as they used to be historically and everything. So, um,
So this brings into something I've been, and we've literally been thinking about this a ton in our, um, we call it your financial nervous system. And, we have our nervous system and we have traumas that affect what we do financially, right? So there's certain traumas, different things that happen that move in our decisions, right? And so having healing, maybe personal healing, will help to figure out how we flow our money, right? If we have other things, we could say, well, we have dad issues, mom issues, all the other fun stuff. But really, it's taking agency and ownership of the trauma, right? That happens. Um, and so I'm hearing like, yeah, there was trauma, there's things that happened, but how would you say somebody think about both their personal trauma and their financial? How do those intersect for you?
oh well. Um, I mean, overcoming trauma, that's something that I'm
Hmm.
still learning myself,
Yeah.
honestly. Um, I've gone far enough to realize that you can't think your way out of it. Like
Hmm.
there's no thinking solution to it. It's actually a somatic, like it's actually in the body, like
Yeah.
literally,
Yeah.
literally the book The Body Keeps the Score kind of talks about this. Like it's literally a physical thing. So what I've been doing, and this sounds ridiculous, but here you go. Um, I have I've kind of well, I had okay, so I had two main wounds
Hmm.
that I remember as a child, and have kind of kept coming up and up for me. One was, and this is painful for me to even tell, but and I've never shared this on the internet before. So here we go.
Hmm.
So one was, there was something like. And I can't even remember what age I was, maybe 8 or something. And uh, I think I maybe didn't get a good enough grade in school or something. Like my
Hmm.
mom was always pushing me to get A's, and I think I didn't, and or
Hmm.
something like that. I don't know. Anyway, so I never learned the lesson. But
Yeah.
the lesson I did learn is I went to my room, I closed the door, and I told myself over and over, I'm stupid, I'm stupid, I'm stupid, I'm stupid. And to this day, like that just ingrained in me. So, and I'll
Hmm.
come back around to how I'm fixing that. Okay, so that was one serious wound. Um, and then, oh, what was the other? Oh, well, the other, I guess the other one was something that just kind of slipped in there, and it was a general sense of shame as a
Hmm.
child. It like just this sense of not belonging, and
Yeah.
and I realize now that what it was like little whispers when we went to um, Deloughery family reunions, and the Deloughery relatives would like say something behind my back, but I would still hear something like, well, he's not a real Deloughery. Like, what are you
Mm,
talking about? And so just kind of this, and what it, and is true. I technically and really was not an actual Deloughery. I was never
yeah.
adopted, not
Right.
biologically, but I was raised to believe that I was. So anyway, so it was just confusing to me. Fast forward now decades, and the way I'm doing it, kind of, and again, it's a silly thing, but so like I do a cold shower in the morning, and I have my own mantra trying to just undo that. So. Um, uh, I'm smart, lucky, and unashamed. I'm smart, lucky, and unashamed, and I just say that over and over. And it's gradually um, uh, helping me undo the
Yeah.
undo the physical effects of that. Kind of to your point of um, the financial, what did you call it? Financial traumas or
Oh, yeah. Financial nervous system.
nervous
Yeah.
system? Yeah.
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 So I believe like in our even our financial world, we have greed and fear index. We on CNN, right? That's what it's that if it's fearful or greedy, and so that's how the market is built, right? And so then we deal with trauma. Don't look at it if it goes down, or don't look at it if it goes up. Like all those kind of things. Yeah,
Mm.
they didn't mean it. If 2008 happens, it'll bounce back. And I'm like, that sounds like an abusive relationship. Um, and so we are conditioned for abusive relationships. We're
Mm.
conditioned for that. And so whenever I ask, and we're working on a financial um, nervous system archetype to know where we land on this kind of thing. And so we've created a new tool, not released yet, but it'll be released when this podcast release. So go click on the links and get your financial archetype. But in those financial archetypes, a lot of times it comes from our wounds. Our wounds impact our kind of personalities, right? And so that's something we've been thinking about a lot. And as I go through doing a financial analysis, I'm an infinite banking practitioner, um, and I help on some of that on estate planning and all of that. But a lot of times people look at this and they say, "Oh, well, I want this thing," and it's the fruit, right? A high cash value life insurance policy that's doing its thing. That's the product of a tree that has been growing, right?
Mm.
And I use profit first and all of that. But what you mentioned was, and we have a system we call the still method, right? Setting your sights, tracking, inspecting, looking for 1%, and living deliberately. What that is your root system. And a lot of times people's roots are unhealthy, right? They don't know what they want because they never ask themselves what they want, right? They let Uncle Steve, who didn't have anything, tell them what they want, even though Steve's dead, right? Um, and so, have you seen that? And I'm sure in this you're dealing with a lot of psychology, therapy, even when you're working with people, they all of a sudden have wealth, or they don't have wealth, but they need to do some things. How have you become a therapist, if you will, in your line of work now?
And you're right. I deal with this all the time. I mean, I think.
Do you become like a clinic, like almost like a doctor, like you're the doctor in the lawyer space, right? With that, but you probably sense there's other things happening. How do you
Yeah.
navigate that?
Yeah. So there's um, a phrase, I guess, that attorneys have historically referred to themselves. Is his attorney and counselor at law. And
Mhm.
I used to be like, for a long time, I was confused about the whole counselor part. Like, well, I can tell you what the law is, but I didn't have a clue, because I didn't have a clue myself. So how could I
Mhm.
help other people? But what I found is, as I'm figuring things out myself, I'm better able to help other people and kind of help them see the big picture and whatnot. Um, and it's, well, I guess I just have more perspective now, and
Hmm.
I think helping people see the perspective is healing and helpful. So,
Yeah.
um, and just like in a nutshell, the way I see things, I've always seen, I've always had this idea, but it's getting more clear to me now. It's that um, okay, so like society
Yeah.
has different um, oh, how do I say it? There's different layers that help organize a society. So
Yep.
first of all, you have aspirations, like back in the 50s, well, in the 50s and whatnot. We had Superman and
Yeah.
you know what presidents that we looked up to, and just like leaders, and we were more religious as a people, and
Hmm.
and so like you had aspirations. Okay, we want to be like this. Then underneath that was just commonly understood values, like
Hmm.
mores, it's called.
Yeah.
um, you know be trustworthy, keep your promises,
Hmm.
that kind of thing. And then underneath that was the law, and the law was just or is the safety net that
Hmm.
like, if all that other stuff somehow doesn't work, then we still have the law. And
Yeah.
the issue now is that we're relying 100% on the law,
Yeah.
and we don't have these commonly accepted values and
Hmm.
aspirations and whatnot. And so what's needed, well, within the family, like, for people you work with, and me too, is helping them maybe come to some commonly understood values that they want to retain in the family and pass on to the next generation. And that's over and above having a will document or something like
Yeah.
that. And trying to resolve things, if at all possible, trying to resolve things out of court.
Yeah.
Because and then go to court as the last resort. I mean, we certainly do that. We do it a lot. But I think, yeah, there's not as much communication that goes on now. Like we all used to uh, live in farming villages, and we all saw each other, and
Yeah.
we all got together for uh, Sunday lunch, after church or whatever, and
Yeah.
and
You knew
so
your
we're not
neighbor.
doing that
Yeah.
as much. Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So.
Well, and as I wrote our book, it's called Five Smooth Stones here. And this book that we wrote, if you'd see it, it's a financial money journal. And the reason we wrote it, and it should say Still Method or something like that. And I mentioned the Still Method, but we wrote it for my son, who's now 7.
Mm.
We wrote it 3 years ago, and it was kind of our ideas of how the financial system works and all of that, and how to organize money. And a couple things that I think about as you guys are listening, if you have families, is we have a couple mantras. One of our mantras in our family was communicate, communicate, communicate. Right. Uh, that's a number one. You'll solve a lot of things if you actually communicate. The other thing, and my son's 7, is Neely's show up. Neely's do show up. We do volunteering. We
Mm.
do all that stuff, and we show up. If we say we're going to do something,
I,
we do.
I love
Um,
that.
and Neely's do hard things. And so trying to teach him those mantras of we do hard things, whether we have money or not, it doesn't matter. We're still going to do hard things.
That
And he's going to inherit a lot of money because I understand the how law works and how contracts work because I do life insurance. It is the base of everything, and so by having those life insurance policies in place, I know he's an only son. He's going to inherit a ton of money. Now, on the other side, I'm like you. I grew up without a dad, not around in the picture. My mom was married 6 or 7 times, so I had 7 stepdads, and they have no money on that side. I can create something different, and you guys, as the listeners, can create something different. Learn from our stories, and sometimes our pain is our biggest strength. Paul's pain is probably now his biggest strength, right? Where learning that it and helped in the broader story. But you don't have to go through pain to learn, in my opinion. Right? You can listen to this podcast and say, okay, I don't have to not know my dad for most of my life and then inherit a lot of money. I could learn from Paul, right? Um, and then do the right things, because I have family members that have literally going through this stuff, and I'm picking them up from jail and all kinds of crazy stuff that I'm like, this is crazy when this happens, and this isn't just Paul's family or my family; it's your family too. Um, all of us have this, and if we understand and begin with the end in mind, be thinking about that. That's an important thing. So your website, Sudden Wealth Protection Law, is this just for the uber wealthy? Like
No.
what are we looking at?
Oh
Who's your
gosh,
best
no.
client?
Oh, my best. Well, primarily what we do, it's a combination of probate and trust litigation. Actually, that's our bread and
Mm-hmm.
butter. Honestly, just helping people through, pick up the pieces when things go to hell, I guess, or
Yep. Yeah.
and then and then doing proactive planning is the other thing. So no, it has nothing to do with lottery winners or whatever, but just good proactive planning. And I loved what you were talking about. You're talking about the family code of honor, and
Mm-hmm.
I wrote about that in my book, Lasting Wealth. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's beautiful, beautiful. Like
We
having some core values is so important.
Yeah, and he knows it. Also, he knows no phones at the dinner table, even though I have the phone a lot of times, and he calls me out, which is fine. And it's kind. I've also learned not to listen to the really intense books like 10x is easier than 2x. I listened to that one, and he's like, "You're doing 2x stuff," and I'm like, "Come on now,
Oh.
stop that." Um, yeah, you're annoying me now, kid. Um, but when would it be time for somebody to reach out to you? Like if they're listening here, when is the time that they say I need to reach out to Paul or somebody like Paul? Now, when should they start?
Well, well, because I'm an attorney only in Arizona, so I can't
Mhm.
practice law in other states. But one thing I could do is provide coaching or consulting for a family that is maybe struggling with trying to figure. Well, okay, I'll just give an example. Like um, having a hard time um, getting everyone on the same page,
Mhm.
or like if they're for example, a business owner and trying to figure out what's going to happen with the business so it doesn't
Yep.
just fall apart if the owner dies.
Yep.
Because like, okay, there's a lot of business brokers that they'll say,
Yep.
oh, I'll solve your problem. Let's just sell the
Yep.
business.
Yep. Yep.
But short of that, some people don't want to sell the business because they spent decades building it up. So maybe it anyway. I think I bring something to the table to help just bridge the gap in those situations. I'll tell you a quick story. So I helped a family where it was a business owner, and they had a number of adult children, and the one
Mhm.
child just was kind of estranged, and meaning they didn't really have a close relationship, and there was some history there. It was actually the oldest child who
Mhm.
had gone through. Um, and seen mom and dad struggle financially. And then the other kids grew up in a different experience.
Mhm.
They only knew like life being good,
Yep.
and so there was a disconnect between the kids. Like the kids just didn't really understand each other very well, and we were able to well. I went in with a partner, and we did some coaching and consulting for them for about 6 months. And um, the one thing that the business owner wanted, like the two parents, the older parents, the
Mhm.
one thing they wanted to be able to see their grandchildren play together because they had
Mhm.
never played together for like 5 years since
Yeah.
there had been this kind of a split.
Yep.
And and we did that, and we planned a family retreat, and it was beautiful, and like they were just crying because it was such a it was so good, and uh they were willing to pay any amount of money just to see their children play together. So that's the kind of thing that I can sometimes help with, and it's really beautiful and moving to see that.
Yeah. Like building those family meetings or legacy meetings, uh, those kind of things. And you don't have to start. I mean, I have a 7-year-old, right? So I can start them now little, and I only have one kid, so it's going to be a small family gathering.
Yeah,
But I can imagine bigger ones, and then as we think about, like, again, the Rockefeller method, how do we best protect, and using life insurance or other kinds of contracts, how do we best make it equal for the family that maybe isn't going to be in the business, and maybe there's some that are, right?
right.
And so how do we best create that equality for them? And that those are things where you need to have maybe a financial plan, maybe somebody like us working alongside an attorney or somebody else that is really thinking about your needs ultimately. And if you're a business owner, start building these things now. Don't wait until, all right, now I want to like sell the business in 2 years. Let me start figuring it out. You should start building those kind of strategies right from the ground up, right?
For sure.
And I think that's important. So let me share my screen. I want to. This is your website, um, and just want to bring anything there. So this is sudden wealth protection
Yep.
law. Anything you want to bring up or share about this that can help people?
Well, just okay, so I'm only an attorney in Arizona. However, if you
Mm.
have any questions, I mean, I'm happy to talk to people and point you in the right direction. So yeah, just reach out if you have a question.
Cool. So estate planning, there's all kinds of stuff here. If there's things that I don't know, because we have Estate Tax Pro that we use, very simple tool, but it's definitely a step. Sometimes, like literally, I have clients that I'm like, dude, I can help you so far. I understand the language. I am not an attorney, nor do I play one. Same with tax person. I understand a lot about taxes. However, I'm not that, and so having those type people on your team is important. And if you're in Arizona, reach out to him. Hey, if you're not in Arizona, reach out to him, and maybe he can help, or have a colleague that he knows. I'm sure
Yep.
you guys all like hang out together, and I don't know what you do, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes, we have. I have a network of other lawyers around
yeah,
the
yeah.
country.
You all hang out in Scottsdale or something. I don't know. So, with that, thanks, Paul, for being here and being open on your story. I really think the reason I wanted you on is because a lot of times people think that's not me. But again, whether you start with a little bit or start with you being the person that creates that generational wealth, and then build it to where they have a problem, if you will. And that I'd rather have a problem that my son inherits too much, but I also want to also make sure that he knows the biggest inheritance that he's going to receive is he knows he's loved by us. And so that's where I'm going to lead. And I hope that you guys do that as well. So thanks, Paul, for being here. And I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you.